I'm Will Aubrey. I'm here with my buddy Joe Darnell. It's time for another edition of the Improbability Engine's After Show. And today we're talking about novelty songs, and I have some. I have a multitude of favorite.
I'm sure you do, Will.
Novelty songs.
Will is his aptitude for language-based jokes can be punishing to his friends, let me tell you. So the fact that you like these novelty songs, not surprised. Not even surprised in a little bit.
I told a joke in high school to a friend of mine. Her name was Jackie. She went home and told her mom, and her mom said, "Where did you get that?" "I got it from Willie." "Give it back."
That's about right. I think that's about right. All right, so novelty songs, Will. This is a big, broad kind of a topic. They've gone on for years. Spike Jones made a fortune with it a long time ago, and it's been carried on through generations. And in fact, it's kind of the dirty subside of pop music is the novelty song, is this idea that you've created something merely for no other purpose than to make people laugh or to poke fun or something of that nature. I think that's a great thing.
And included in novelty songs will be parody songs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Weird Al Yankovics of the world.
Yes.
This is your home. Come home. This is the good stuff.
And my favorite, by Bob Rivers, American Pie Eulogy.
Oh, Will.
And are you familiar with it?
You've almost got to intersperse clips of the songs into this podcast.
And I will.
Okay.
American Pie Eulogy. And it's supposedly Don McLean singing about how Madonna has killed his song.
You know what? That's pretty good.
And, you know, at one point the song goes, and I'm not going to try to sing the lyrics. Thank me for that.
Yeah.
At one
Please make checks payable to Joe Darnell, care of the Improbability Engine After Show.
At one point he goes, "I don't know if it's dance rap. I'm pretty sure it's bull crap." and there's another part where he says, "I thought this girl knew how to croon, but she sounds just like two donkeys screwing."
Oh, wow. Oh, okay, so if we're talking about parody, the king in my generation of parody music, none other than Weird Al Yankovic.
He's awesome.
Weird Al Yankovic, just when you think, he's pretty much run this into the ground, he pulls it up and he just runs with it a little bit further. And this is a very strange story, but it's I would bet that about 80% of it's true. My father-in-law worked for a while in Los Angeles as an engineer, electronics engineer, working for certain, and sometimes he'd do jobs working for certain recording studios. You know, the guy that makes sure that this board is working and, you know, that everything's hooked up the way it's supposed to and that there's no buzz or anything like that. That's what he did. His greatest claim to fame was that he got to meet Rick Derringer and Weird Al Yankovic. And he said, "Yeah, I met, you know, Rick Derringer and Weird Al Yankovic." I was like, "That's weird. How did you meet those guys?" He's like, "Well, Rick Derringer was producing an album for Weird Al Yankovic, and I was the electrician." I was like, "That's kind of strange." I was like, "So what's Weird Al like?" And he's like, "He's weird." It's not a clever name.
Well,
he's a strange guy. He's, you know, high energy and always doing something. So.
Your favorite Weird Al song?
Oh, my favorite Weird Al song. Do you go classic? Do you do... You know what? The Michael Jackson parodies that he does were amazing. Fat, where he parodies Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, might be the best parody ever because that was the biggest song in my life. That was huge. It was everywhere. And then here comes Weird Al Yankovic in the leather jacket talking about when he goes to the movies, he takes up 7 rows because he's fat.
Living in an Amish paradise.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a new one. That's one of those that you've got to like. You know what? I've listened to him. It's always been one of those things that, you know, if I went to a yard sale or something, I'd look for a Weird Al tape because that's the best place to buy Weird Al tapes is at yard sales. I would buy them because, frankly, they're funny, and you can play them with your grandmother in the car, and it's okay. You know, because it's funny. She might not get all the jokes, but it's not bad. But that was always my favorite part. But I used to love doing that with Weird Al stuff, and he just funny, man, just stupid. Yeah, I know it's stupid. I know. Trust me, I know. But it's funny.
All right, I'm going to go off the beaten path here.
Okay.
Doyle and Debbie, when you're screwing other women, think of me.
You know what? That's the logical conclusion to about 95% of sad love songs. I really have come to think that. This is Doyle and Debbie. First off, if you're not familiar with Doyle and Debbie, go check out a show in Nashville. They're there a lot.
On Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays, which, why wouldn't they be there on Tuesdays?
They used to have Saturday shows, and that's when we went. But now, just Tuesdays.
Oh, but no, they're very funny. And they parody country music. They parody it so well that on occasion, even in a single song, you won't know where the parody line is. You're like, is this a serious country music song? Are they being serious about this? And then all of a sudden, way off the deep end, and then coming back in. It's great.
And one more, the Snowbanks of Life.
Will.
Do you know the song?
I do not know that song.
All right. The beginning, he's talking about when he was growing up in East Tennessee. His father said to me, when you love a woman, you must let her know. In letters of gold, write her name in the snow. and toward the end of the song, he says, my swollen old prostate has caused me to change. Now I'm out chasing women with much shorter names.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I peed your name in the snowbanks of life, and you washed your hands of my love.
Oh, my gosh. Well, if you're going to bring up a country version-ish of these parody / novelty songs, you got to bring up Ray Stevens.
Oh, yes.
Ray Stevens is the godfather of country parody music. I mean, he's great. The Mississippi Squirrel, the Streak. The Streak to this day is still funny. I sang the song the other day while I was in the kitchen doing something. Because that's what you do with these things. They're earworms. They get stuck in your brain, and you just got to do something about it.
Making the best of a bad situation. That was another great one. And what was the one where it's a guy in a phone booth, and if you want to have a real good time.
Yeah,
that was another great one.
There's so many that he did that were so good. I mean, even the dumber ones, stuff like Guitarzan.
Yeah.
And that's a dumb song, but you got to listen. I mean, it's a good song. But you get those that you listen to and you just kind of go, you know what? That's pretty all right. I'll take it. That's good stuff. It's worth listening to.
And in the 70s.
Yeah.
Joe Tex with 2 huge hits. Skinny Legs and All, where he sings about, won't somebody please take the lady with the skinny legs? And so somebody else in the band says, well, why don't you take her, Joe? And he says, I don't want no woman with skinny legs. And don't want to bump no more with no big fat woman.
You know what? Those are really good. Now, here's what you're bringing up. There was an era where the parody / novelty song was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, the 1960s were the golden age of parody / novelty.
Yakety yak.
Yakety yak. Well, I've got a list here. These are some that are really, really good. You've got Monster Mash.
Oh yeah.
It's still played at every Halloween party you go to, and that's a parody. That's a novelty song. It's one it's not even one that's actually true. The Purple People Eater.
Yeah. That's
another one that you hear a lot of. But you get some of those. They're coming to take me away.
Oh, I love that.
That's one of those that you listen to and you go, oh.
And then Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, Freaker's Ball.
There you go. There's some. Now, see, this is where we're getting into some that you're like, okay, is this parody? is this novelty, is this art.
Well,
you start getting on that continuum, you're like, oh, well, it's on a real album. It's,
Yeah, and I have to mention, Jeremiah was a bullfrog, joy to the world. And I saw an interview with a guy who had talked to Hoyt Axton, and Hoyt had written that song. And so, guy asked him, and I think it's Blake Shelton.
Right.
Anyway, he said, I asked Hoyt, I said, where did you get that? Jeremiah was a bullfrog. He said, well, I did a lot of really bad drugs back then.
You know what, though? I mean, you'll find some that have that kind of, they've taken a step away from it. And most people don't think, well, that's a novelty song. But it kind of is. I mean, it's just how these things work. I mean, I know that, let's see, what's one that comes from? Surfin' Bird.
Not familiar with that one.
It's a very famous song, but it was actually a really popular song. Everybody knows that the bird is a word.
Ringo Starr had
he had a lot of them.
Had a novelty song back in the 70s that was a big hit, but I can't. Oh, my.
Yes, that's a great one by Ringo. And this is a guy who was in the Beatles, for Christ's sake. This is a guy who's extremely famous. And he had, but now a lot of Ringo songs are like that. Just like a lot of Jimmy Buffett songs, you'd almost say, that's a novelty song. Except he's serious about it. Why Don't We Get Drunk and Screw? That's a song by Jimmy Buffett. And it is country music that is just perfect. I mean, it's one of those you go, that's awesome. When you go home, listen to that song. It's fantastic.
Randy Newman, Short People.
Another one, great songwriter, writes this song that you just kind of go, well, I don't know if that's kind of, that's weird, but all right, that'll work, But you get some of those where you get strange crossovers.
And another country one.
Okay.
Which the first time you heard the song, you didn't realize it was a novelty song until it was about halfway through. Kenny Rogers' Lucille.
Yep.
Won him a Grammy.
I still love that song. It's a great song. And you think, well, this is a really sad song. And to the point where it gets to being absurd. And you go, okay, this is now we're really thickening it. So we talked about serious artists doing novelty songs a little bit in there. But the biggest bastion of novelty songs are the ones that come out during holidays. We mentioned the Monster Mash. Every Halloween party plays the Monster Mash. At least once, probably closer to 12 times. But Christmas has...
Oh, yes.
Christmas has so many, and they're all varying degrees of absurd. Possibly the most known one is Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Every Christmas, you'll hear that song about 9,000 times.
A Visit from St. Nicholson.
That one. That's hilarious. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna have to listen.
Let's see what you get from your old buddy Jack.
You know what? That's pretty good. I got no problem with that. So the next one I was gonna bring up, Christmas wise, was Snoopy versus the Red Baron.
Oh yeah.
Which is by the Royal Guardsmen from the mid-'60s, one of my favorite Christmas songs. And I have no idea why they took the story of Snoopy and the Red Baron and matched it with a Christmas song. It wouldn't have never come to my mind.
See, and then another one is Tennessee Birdwalk. If you haven't heard this, you have to hear this song. This is such an incredibly awesome song. And it talks about, if birds didn't have feathers, then they'd have to wear clothes and all of these different things. If they couldn't fly, they'd have to walk. And if they couldn't sing, then they'd go chirp, chirp. It's a hilarious song.
And what's funny is you get topical versions of the parody songs. So, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, that's the standard.
Right.
But what happens when you take something that's even more derivative and turn it into a parody song about New Kids on the Block, which were a big boy band for about 3 years in the 90s, and call it New Kids Got Run Over by a Reindeer. An actual song. It's derivative, it's cliche, and yet it's an earworm and it's stuck in your head and you go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm listening to that.
In New Orleans, they've got Grandma Got Run Over by a King Float.
See, so you have some regional disparities that come in there, some changes that happen. That's
one more that I have to mention, even though it's not really a parody song, it's just an awesome song. A Name Like Watermelon. So anyway,
yeah, I think you can go A Boy Named Sue even in that, or you know, Johnny Cash.
I saw Johnny Cash perform that song live once, and he gets to the end and he says, you know, he's talking about any other name but Sue. And he goes, George or Bill or Tarzan, anything but Sue.
Now, the other one that I want to point out in Johnny Cash's that was probably a novelty song, but is one of my favorite songs of his, is One Piece at a Time.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great song for car people. I mean, to give a little background, my grandfather, his whole family worked on cars. They did body work, they'd buy cars, they'd sell them. That was what they did. There were always cars at my grandfather's house. Always cars. And I mean cars of every make, model, year, ilk, whatever. They were always there. And so whenever he starts talking about, you know, the real problem came when I started assembling it, and he starts talking about how he's got pieces of a Cadillac, but it's, you know, you got two headlights on one side, one headlight on the other side, one fin, no fin on the other. You know, that's the kind of stuff that car guys, we immediately understand what he's trying to say, because, by God, there's always been that thing where, you know, we always used to joke, you know, over at Peepaw's house, there's enough pieces to make a car. I don't know what it would be, but there are enough pieces out there to make a car. And, that's just how it was. It was always this absurd little concept of, oh yeah, you know, we could go piece together something that'll look like a Frankenstein's monster.
And since we talk about sports, Walk Like a Tarkanian.
That's pretty good. I think you could probably put the Super Bowl Shuffle by the Chicago Bears in that. You know what? Possibly the most... We're
not here to cause no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Horrible song.
And I loved it, and they had the audacity to do it before they won the Super Bowl.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That is gutsy to come out before the season and say, yeah, we're going to win the Super Bowl. And not only are we going to win the Super Bowl, we've gone to the recording booth and we've recorded a song telling you that we're going to win the Super Bowl. You know what? Give them credit. They didn't try to do it in '86.
And this isn't a real parody song. It isn't even really a song, but too bad.
It's my show, and I'll say what I want.
I remember after the New York Yankees won the World Series, David Letterman singing, Yankees, 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 they win all the games. Yankees, 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 Yankees. That was actually before the World Series. And then after the World Series, he said, I came out with a new version of it. Yankees, 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 they won all the games. Yankees, 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 Yankees.
You know what? That's the kind of stuff you got to have. I mean, when you're talking about it, it's got to be topical. It's got to be lighthearted. It's got to be funny. And really, when you're talking about all those things, novelty and parody songs to where it's at.
And I write parody songs.
Of course you do, Will. Why wouldn't you? You consider yourself a very punny guy.
I have written The Ballad of Fred Flintstone and The Ballad of Scooby-Doo's Sister. Which, let's see. Out on the road late last night, I saw my brother Scooby in every headlight. Scooby, goofy Scooby. Well, I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari to Hatchapee to Tonopah. I've chased every kind of rig that's ever been made. Chased them down the back road so I wouldn't get spayed. And if you give me snacks, treats, and crime, and show me a time, then I'll be willing to be moving.
You know, Will, I think we should end on that note. I don't think we can top that. That's the best part of that whole thing. You know what, guys? If you want to hear more of Will singing, please go and check your neurologist and make sure everything's okay. Everything will be all right. But hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Facebook. Let us know what's going on. We'd love to hear from you. I got nothing else on this one, Will. What do you got?
I've got nothing else.
All right.
Brings to a close this edition of the Improbability Engine.